Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the #1 enemy of translucent plastic. It's too late. Random review is about to begin.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1043 of our daily content grind, and yes, you're looking at a hotshot. Now, I think it is my destiny at this point to discuss every iteration of hotshot that will ever exist. However, this is one where it is a far more pleasant experience because it's the Cybertron version. And if you follow this channel for long enough, you know Cybertron is still my favorite Transformer toy line of all time. So the fact that we're getting a brand new iteration of what is actually my favorite hotshot design, that's kind of a big deal, and I have been very excited for this figure to come out. So let's see how it actually turned out. So as you can see, it is done up in the lovely shade of metallic ice blue. It's very different. It's not your standard yellow hotshot, which is part of the reason I like it so much. It casts a different identity for itself, which I think hotshot desperately needed going into the eventuality of Bumblebee's return. Keeps him from just being yet another yellow sports car in the mix. Pour one out for Sunstreaker, who will probably never get used in a cartoon again thanks to Bumblebee. But no, here the sports car mode is done exceptionally well. It is the more futuristic, more concept car looking version of hotshot's vehicle mode. Really nice. I absolutely prefer this. I like the large canopy windows. I like the mix of primary colors going on here. I will state it is pretty obvious that there is a little bit of marring when it comes to the colors here. So obviously there is this dark blue plastic that's intervening a lot of parts for this toy. That's all of the palm plastic. So the ABS is the stuff that can paint, the palm is not. Which also explains why the spoiler in the back does not have the yellow that it should, despite the yellow being painted around it. So yeah, unfortunately it mars the look a little bit in the front end and maybe just a little bit on the top. That's kind of unfortunate. It's upsetting that they didn't try to come closer than this. Usually the palm plastic tries to get somewhat close, but here it is absolutely a very different shade. Truth be told, yeah, there's also a little bit of metallic blue paint on the top, where the translucent plastic has been painted over to match the blue, and that also does not match great, especially in light. You can see how the plastic and the metallic paint actually reflect the light differently, and the paint comes up a little bit lighter as a result. So it's a little bit inconsistent in the blue colorings, but everything else I do like. I like how sharp and nice looking the yellow is. It's trying to look green because it's painted on the blue, but it's still looking yellow enough to get by. Silver here along the side intakes, and then the vents on the hood as well. Really do like that. And the yellow for the headlights done as well. I believe those are parts done in translucent on the original toy. I will take paint here in this case. I really wish the rims had been painted, but, you know, that's something that's kind of rare. And then you see that little bit of red pointing out right there. Okay, so there is nothing spring-loaded on this toy, unlike the original figure. However, there is still things like this. A tiny little cyber key, based on the Speed Planet. What do you call it, Velocitron or Speedia, one or the other. He does have a tiny little chip that comes with him. And there is a slot, just like in the original toy, where that chip can actually fit. And here, it unlocks absolutely nothing, like I told you. However, once it's put in, it does look proper if we actually extend, yep, his cyber power key ability, which is these extra fins in the back. Now, the spoilers on the original one were originally translucent yellow. That's because, keep in mind, they were trying to emulate Hot Rod with the original toy. That said, this one done up in red. Now, it's largely most likely because they are attached with mushroom pegs, which translucent plastic would not handle very well. So, okay, red plastic it is. The irony here is that the red spoiler actually makes it match his original Legends of Cybertron toy, the Legends class version. That's actually kind of ironic. That it is a little bit surprising that they didn't at least try to paint them yellow just to kind of get the right color across. But I'll take what I can get because, well, you know, it's Hotshot. He's not going to do everything perfectly. You do see a hole at the top that we can mount his weapon. And I'm happy to say the weapon is shockingly cartoon accurate. So the original weapon had a translucent missile and then actual gray around the front, I believe. Here, what used to be the trigger for the launcher has been painted in silver, as well as the missile. And that is actually cartoon accurate. I had to double check and find an episode of Galaxy Force where he used it. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So they went animation accurate on the weapon. Really nice to see. If that's not enough weaponing for you, you can mount a few more. Each side has two 5mm peg holes, so that is not a bad amount of loadout. I'm going to take the gun off, but we're going to leave the key in because really, you can leave it along for the ride during transformation. Not going to hurt anything, and well, there's really not a whole lot else we can do with it here. One thing I will say on mine is the canopy doesn't really want to stay pegged in on mine. It's just friction keeping it in, so if it's a little bit too loose, yeah, you might have issues like this where not everything wants to fit flush together. There might also just be alignment issue with some of the internal parts. Might figure that out a little bit, but for now, it's been bugging me. But let's go ahead. We transform to see how the robot mode turned out. And this is largely the same transformation of the original toy. You know, well, I will pull the arms out from the exact same spots they were before. The same parts will come along with the arms. Go ahead and snap those apart. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and take the head out. Which you need a bit of a thumbnail in order to do. Rotate that around. That gives us the upper body already done. Nice and efficient toys, these Cybertron figures. So to undo the legs, first, we have to raise this up. It's on a double hinge now. And you'll have to rotate it around 180 degrees in order to get it into the right spots. This panel is new. This will help bridge the gap between the head and the back piece. So that will firm up the connection there. Gonna go ahead and leave that as is. So let's go ahead and separate the legs. And now the original had slide joints, but slide joints are prone to failure because they rely on friction nubs that will eventually wear out with too many transformations. So they now opted for the familiar double hinge leg extension, which we see on a lot of these toys from time to time. Gonna go ahead and fold the foot out, close that up, bring the foot right into position like so. Go ahead and do the same here. Go through this very quickly so we don't go too long on the video. And that is going to be the transformation into robot mode. Nice, smooth, very reminiscent of the original, but a little bit of new stuff going on to kind of bring it up to modern day transformation standards. All in all, quite happy with that. Now in robot mode, Hotshot pulls off the exact same visual trick of the original figure, exposing a lot more black to his color scheme, as well as a lot more of that dark red color, which is always a nice little trick. I like when Transformers hide such a prominent color very, very well in their vehicle mode. Really gives you that feel of like we've actually transformed into something. And just overall, he comes across pretty much as clean and nice as the original Cybertron Hotshot, largely because, I assume, he's done exactly the same way. You know, he looks like an old school, like mid-2000s Transformer. Something that uses the bulk of the vehicle to create the parts of the robot, which is my design preference. It's great to see. It does, and the toy itself just looks the part. It's a fantastic job recreating the character. So as usual with such things, we're going to go in closer to see how the head sculpt turned out. You can see those bright blue eyes underneath that big visor that does not come down because that's how Cybertron worked. It's only Armada that came down. But yeah, it's doing a nice job of recreating the character. The details are not all exactly the same. You can see a much smaller Autobot symbol on the shoulder than the original figure. But it's doing a good enough job of mimicking it that I'm quite happy with how it turned out. And then the yellow and the gunmetal silver does help on the chest as well. Little bits of red for some of the detailing. Yeah, they've just done a really nice job here. There is a detail missing that is a little bit annoying, and that is he does not have the guns or the pipes in his forearms anymore. Remember, the intention behind this toy is to kind of create this blend between the modern hotshot and the prior generation's hot rod. So, yeah, the original had his arm cannons, his three little arm exhaust guns, which are not present here, which is a little bit disappointing. So, you can't have it all. I mean, they got the ridges in the chest, little chest window here, like they got that. Managed to get that part right. So as I said, the overall look is pretty spot on. Very, very happy with how the whole thing turned out. And yeah, you can still see the Cyber Key doing its thing in the back. Going ahead and remove it, because it's really not doing anything for us now. We can go ahead and pop the shoulders as well, so we can get these fins out. The fins are a little bit smaller than the originals. It's not as prominent or noticeable as it was on the original toy, which is a little bit disappointing here. But that's basically what I was expecting here. The overall toy itself is a little bit smaller. Unfortunately, I just reshuffled my storage bins, so I couldn't find my hotshot in time for this video. Suffice to say, he is a little bit smaller and a little bit scrawnier than the original, which that's kind of to be expected. It's still about the right size for a modern Transformer toy. If you're concerned about hollow parts, then yeah, the inside of the thigh and the inside of the arms are going to bug you. This doesn't really bother me so much, but I will admit it's weird when I kind of grab onto his bicep to rotate it, and I just feel that hollow gap in there, because my brain wants to say this is the original toy when I know for fact it is not. My brain does get a little bit weird when I start manipulating some of these parts, like grabbing onto this and feeling that hollow gap, because my brain wants to acknowledge that like this is the original toy when I know it's not, because it's just coming that close to it. There's this weird, like, in the same way Missing Link Convoy kind of like weirds my brain out, like feeling familiar, but then having these differences that are like hard to adjust to at first. I'm getting the same vibes here because we are so close to the original. That said, there are changes. Let's get into the articulation rundown. We can go through a little bit of that. So, focus on me. Head is ball jointed now, so you actually have a range of motion that the original did not have. A lot of up and down motion that you can do now. Shoulders do have basically the original motion of the toy. So you do have that forward rotation and that hinge there at the torso, but you do have a little bit more outward motion with the arm than the original figure. I do wish it went a little bit further than that, though, because that would have provided a little bit more of a natural articulation point than what this is doing. This is that double swivel style of articulation that just kind of bugs me because it doesn't really feel all that natural, and it kind of gets limited in positions. See, he does have a bicep rotation that works 360 degrees. He also has a wrist rotation that's a little bit tricky to use, but the doors are actually on a pivot, so you can actually rotate these downward to get them out of the way, so you can rotate the wrist. A little bit weird, but you know what? I'll take it. The waist itself has a 360-degree rotation. Nice to see. Full universal hip motion. Great. Thigh swivel works really well. Knees get to a 90-degree bend, and then you have an ankle tilt, which the original toy sorely needed. But here, it's kind of standard, just like a lot of these modern upgrades of like Unicron Trilogy toys just end up being, kind of bringing them up to the current standard in articulation. So yeah, it's just hitting all the nice sweet spots for me. It's almost in a way where, like, I'm almost looking for more. Like, I'm almost looking for a little bit of reinvention rather than just, you know, keeping it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And normally I would be all about that, but I don't know. There's just something it feels like I wanted to do just a little bit more. I mean, I can arm him up, and that is, again, where you're going to have to swivel the doors down in order to fit it in his hand. It does look good with it. All that does work really, really well. If you want to arm him up a little bit more, all of those original mounting points are now available. Side of the ankle, side of the arm, and now you also have these at the top of the shoulder, which I'm sure you can figure out something for. But yeah, beyond that, not a whole lot to say. It's just a really cleanly, efficiently done take on Cybertron Hotshot with a lot of more modern design aspects going on to him. There are some little details missing that I kind of wish the toy had replicated from the original. The yellow for the fins especially is kind of weirdly missing here, but it does pretty much what I expected it to do. It represents Cybertron Hotshot well, and it does a really good job of recreating him and letting new fans get a hold of him for the first time. So you know what? I will accept that. So yeah, really, really solid figure. And one of those figures where I'm like chomping at the bit because I know a red repaint is going to come out eventually, and that's an exciting prospect. But that's for another day. For now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you find this figure soon, because he's definitely worth picking up, especially if you didn't have a chance to own the original. So, of course, I'm going to say go buy the Cybertron toy. It's a rare time I get to compliment a hotshot. Give me some credit here. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.